What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another interview edition here at Learn Crypto. Today I have Rob Finch, the CEO of Cypherglass, which is actually one of the 21 block producers for the EOS blockchain. How you doing today, Rob?
I'm great. How are you?
Pretty good. So this is going to be similar to the other interview we did with EOS Detroit. I'm kind of going to get Rob's overview of EOS. You know, this is a highly debatable cryptocurrency right now, and I'm trying to get as much insight on the project myself and for the community. So I guess, Rob, if you just want to start with giving a brief background of yourself, how you got started into cryptos, and then we'll dive into EOS.
Yeah, so I found out about Bitcoin actually on Reddit back in 2013, and like many people sort of dove down the rabbit hole and, sunk tons and tons of time into learning about it and how it worked. I discovered EOS last year after they announced it at Consensus 2017 and was just kind of captivated by their presentation of, hey, look at the current status of things. Here's Bitcoin, it does about 3 transactions per second. Here's Ethereum, does about 15 transactions per second. But if we wanted to run, say, Facebook or Twitter or any kind of mainstream app on these platforms, it just wouldn't work. So then when they talked about EOS and its potential to scale to millions of transactions per second over time, I got super interested and sort of did the same thing I did with Bitcoin, where I dove down the rabbit hole and just sucked up as much information as I could. And here we are today now as one of the block producers.
So in your opinion, obviously, I'm sure everybody has a little bit of insight on what EOS is. Could you give an overview of EOS as the project and what you really think it has going for it, how it's going to differentiate itself from Ethereum, Neos, and some of these other protocol tokens?
Yeah, absolutely. So EOS in one sentence is basically a decentralized app platform that allows anyone to build, launch, and host a decentralized app on a sort of decentralized operating system. The two main differences it has from something like an Ethereum or a Neo. The first main difference is that there are no transaction fees. So for somebody like my mom who may want to use a decentralized Facebook in the future or a decentralized Twitter, whatever the case may be, instead of having to pay that 10, 20, 50 cents, sometimes even multiple dollars to send a transaction or like a post on that decentralized Facebook, on EOS they can do it for free and it just sort of functions like a normal dApp. The other main differentiator is if you think of EOS as an ownership model and Ethereum as a rental model, it goes back to transaction fees a little bit. With Ethereum, anytime I want to use the network, I'm sort of paying rent with a transaction fee. But on EOS, if I own tokens, I then own a percentage of the network. So if I own 1% of all the tokens that exist on EOS, I'm always guaranteed 1% of the bandwidth and computing power and eventually storage of that network so that I can always get transactions through and nobody can spam the network and clog it like happens on Ethereum all the time.
Kind of answers my next question. I was going to ask, what is the purpose or the value proposition between or for the EOS token?
Yeah, I mean, it really is that. You're getting not only rights to your proportional computational power and bandwidth and eventually storage once EOS.io storage comes out later this year, but you're also getting voting rights. So on some platforms like Ethereum and Neo and Bitcoin that are proof of work, and I guess Neo's not proof of work, but with Ethereum and Bitcoin, you can't choose who's processing your transactions. It's all dependent on hash power. And right now, if you look at Bitcoin, for example, a few mining pools that are all sort of owned by the same person, Jihan Wu with Bitmain, they control more than 50% of the hash power in the network, which effectively means they control the network. And there's nothing you can do as a Bitcoin token holder to sort of vote them out or change that in any way. But on EOS, if you don't like what some of the block producers are doing, if you say, hey, that block producer is, does not have the best interest in the network at heart, you can actually change your vote and vote for somebody else. So if I have 100 EOS tokens, I now have 100 votes, and I can go out and vote for who I want to process my transactions.
I gotcha. So, I mean, again, a lot of people argue that EOS is centralized and that they don't really agree with the distribution method of the token. What would you say to those individuals? I guess you kind of summed it up there because you're saying, hey, you're one of the 21 block producers, but you have a bunch of standby block producers as well that are like chomping at the bit to get one of those 21 slots and hope you guys really mess up and that the community votes you out. So what would you say to people that always bring up centralization and that you guys could use bribery to get your votes, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, I mean, I think the first main thing to point out is that in the EOS constitution, which is kind of this governance model that very soon now in the next couple of months, the token holders will actually be able to vote on and ratify and choose what they want in it and what they don't. But one of the articles there prohibits things like vote buying. So if a block producer is ever caught vote buying, you can unread producer them and basically lock them out of the system and they're no longer a block producer. But when you compare EOS to things like, the Bitcoin mining pools or even the Ethereum mining pools, on Ethereum, I believe it's 4 or 5 mining pools control the total hash power. So even though technically it's not in their best interest necessarily to go in and do a double spend or try to harm the network in some way, those people can. So, people look at EOS and they say, oh, 21 people, that doesn't seem like a lot. But when you include things like the backups that can replace the main people, and you also look at systems like Bitcoin and Ethereum, EOS is actually much, much more decentralized than Bitcoin and Ethereum are today.
So obviously we've seen some downward pressure on the price of EOS currently. A lot of people are kind of attributing that to the fact that a lot of these airdrops are using the original snapshot of June 2nd, I believe.
Yep.
Do you think that moving forward, there will be a new snapshot to kind of incentivize new people to hold EOS? Because like we do a live show, and even myself, I said after June 2nd, hey, downward pressure, I'm going to get rid of my EOS, and I'm got 5, 6, 7 airdrops from Binance without even being a holder. So do you think there's a reason for people to buy into EOS now rather than just speculation? Do you think that airdrops are going to take advantage of maybe that marketing technique and to do a new snapshot here in the future?
Yeah, and we're already starting to see that with some projects who are announcing their airdrops for, say, a few weeks from now or even a few months from now. They're saying, hey, here's the date we're going to take the snapshot in the future. Here's when we're going to do the airdrop. But what I think we're going to see, honestly, is a tool or somebody come out with something that makes it much, much easier to do a snapshot, so that anytime there's an airdrop, nobody will even drop to the Genesis snapshot anymore. It'll be, hey, we just took a snapshot, we're dropping now. Or, hey, here's our snapshot date in the future. So I think that's going to change very, very quickly. I think the main reason why people are still dropping to the Genesis snapshot is because they know the snapshot's been verified. They know it's all accurate. They don't really have to do any work. But I think that's all going to change very, very soon. And we're already starting to see that change happen. So
that's really cool. And I guess for people to participate on future snapshots, they really have to have their EOS in not an exchange wallet, but actually have access to the private keys and to really get that EOS staking. So maybe they can vote for a block producer or a standby block producer like yourself. I know you guys have a bunch of information on your website. Do you have any favorite wallets that you think people should store EOS in order to participate on the network?
Definitely. My favorite wallet, and the one I use, is called EOS Voter, and it's by another block producer candidate called Greymass. So if you search Greymass, Greymass, EOS Voter, you can find their GitHub and download it from their official repository. But it makes it super easy. With just 3 clicks, you can vote for a block producer. You can do things like buy RAM, sell RAM, change the amount of EOS that you have staked and all that good stuff. So it's super easy and accessible.
Awesome. Now, I don't know if it was you or not, but I think I saw a video of you on YouTube that had a very high upside objective for EOS moving forward. Yeah. I'm not going to say that you have to repeat that price, but can you kind of give us a reason why you have this upside objective and why you think that the value proposition is really there for this cryptocurrency?
Definitely. So if you're listening and you're curious about that video, it's just search $1 million EOS bet on YouTube, and you'll see my face again, and you can go take a look at some of the concepts in more detail. But it boils down to a few things, one of which is what I call the airdrop feedback loop. So as all of these projects are building on EOS, they have to actually buy EOS to sort of buy some of those network resources, going back to that ownership model I was talking about. So what they're doing is they're going out, they're buying some EOS to lock up some resources, buying some RAM with that EOS, and then they're distributing an airdrop. And then if the market values their airdrop properly, they make a lot of money from that. They're going to sell some of their tokens, go out, buy some EOS so that then they can actually host their project on the platform. But what happens when these projects all go out and they buy EOS, they're blocking it and they're staking it up for presumably forever, as long as they want to run their dApp. So as more and more projects start to do this airdrop, raise money through the airdrop funding model, and then lock up their EOS, the total supply of EOS that's actually available for trading goes way, 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 way down. So we go from 1 billion tokens to, in the future, maybe only 100 million tokens. And even right now, if we look at the total amount of votes that are staked for CPU bandwidth and mainly voting, more than 300 million tokens have already been staked and are locked up right now. So that leaves the total potential float at about 700 million. You take out block one's 100 million, and we're down to 600 million in the float already. And this is only 6 weeks after launch. So as more projects start to build, more people start to vote, more wallets come out, like a wallet for Ledger or an iPhone hardware wallet that block one is working on. We're going to see that total amount of float go way, way down.
That's really interesting. Now, I know that Ledger integration is supposed to be coming soon. If there's Ledger integration, will that wallet be able to participate on the EOS blockchain as far as voting and staking is concerned?
Yes. So we actually put out a $100,000 EOS hardware wallet bounty. It covers both the Ledger and the Trezor. Ledger, it looks like, is going to be out very, very soon. The person who's sort of the front runner to win that bounty actually just emailed us, I think, an hour or two ago and said, hey, I'm done with the code. I'm putting the finishing touches on it. I'm submitting it to Ledger next week. He's already had an app approved by Ledger before, so it bodes well for this app to actually get EOS approved and usable on your Ledger Nano S. As soon as that's done and that Ledger app comes out, you'll actually be able to vote for block producers right on our website using your Ledger Nano S. You can vote for us, you can vote for others, and you'll have all the same functions you might have in something like Gray Mass's wallet where you can stake and unstake and buy RAM and vote and unvote and all that good stuff. So it's going to be a fully fledged wallet, and I'm super excited to finally be able to.
That is really interesting because, EOS Detroit kind of gave me some of these other web wallets and other wallet options. It's like, oh, that's awesome. I can easily set that up. But now I'm getting to the point where with all the projects I'm involved in, I got all these different wallets, and I really try to migrate them all to a ledger or some kind of centralized wallet where I can have multiple cryptocurrencies there for me to utilize. So really, before I let you talk about Cypherglass a little bit, do you believe that EOS is really the future for protocol development or dApp development? Or do you think it's something that is truly immutable and decentralized? The only reason I say that is a lot of people look at the Constitution there, and they have some concerns with the Constitution that it might still be an overbearing, government atmosphere there. But it appears that with you being a block producer, that you don't believe that that's going to be a factor, and that you really think they're on the right track, I would assume.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing to keep in mind about the Constitution is that it's not actually ratified yet. So along with those voting rights and the bandwidth rights that you get by holding and staking EOS tokens, you also get the ability to vote on things like the constitutional articles. So coming up here in the next, I think it's 60 to 90 days is when that ability sort of unlocks on the chain and will be ready. We're going to actually go through that sort of ratification process where you as an EOS token holder can go and vote and say, hey, I like articles 1, 3, 7, 8, 9, and 10, but I don't want the others. And the ones that get the most votes over other articles will then sort of come in they'll come to fruition on the actual EOS mainnet and on that chain. And that's really where EOS is so different from other platforms, not just the fact that it's more scalable, but the fact that it has built-in governance where you as a token holder can help make these decisions on which direction you want the Constitution to move to. So we've seen a lot of different discussion on, should we go this way, should we go that way, but ultimately it's going to be up to the community to decide once that ratification process happens.
Yeah, and I can't sit here and say that any governance system is the proper system, but I do definitely start supporting some of these projects that do have governance built in. Some people say that kind of ruins the general purpose of cryptocurrencies as a decentralized peer-to-peer network, but I believe that you need that on some level, whether that's with EOS, you see that with Zencash, you see IOHK, all their projects they're partnering with trying to work on a proper governance system. I think that, there could be several winners, but I do think a governance on some level is needed for success.
Yeah. And I think that really the main reason, I think what governance is going to kind of get boiled down to, governance won't enable block producers to, freeze anybody's accounts. We had that whole ECAF thing that went a little wild there for a while, but I think a lot of that's going to go away. And what arbitration or sort of that governance model is really going to go back to is just fixing code bugs, like what happened with Ethereum's DAO when, code is not acting as intended. So if I code a smart contract and there's $100 million in it, and all of a sudden somebody is leaking money out of that, just like happened in Ethereum's DAO, the block producers can go in, they can freeze that, fix the bug, prevent that loss from happening, and sort of restart it without even having to affect the main chain or any of the other dApps or smart contracts that are on the chain at all.
Perfect. So I guess really, if you want to talk a little bit about Cypherglass, how that really came to be, why you think you guys are currently one of the top 21 block producers.
Yeah, I think we actually just got bumped to 22. We've been kind of out of the bottom, but we were top 21. We were 7 for a while, then got all the way down to 30, back to 18. It's been kind of a wild ride to see as more and more people come out to vote, but we're confident that we're going to get back into 21. We're only one spot away now.
And maybe this video in this community will help bump you up a little bit as well. So if you guys like what you're seeing here in this interview and also what you saw with EOS Detroit, maybe do some of your voting for those guys. Both of you seem to be very passionate here about EOS. Now, do you think that since the 21 block producers are almost competing with each other, that can maybe hinder some of the growth and acceptance of EOS? Or do you think that affects anything?
I don't know. I don't think it affects things so much as it really, ensures that all the block producers are continually investing in the ecosystem. So a lot of people ask me the question, they say, hey, when does voting end? When is it final? But the answer is never. I mean, voting never ends. It's always ongoing. Just like happened to us, we're in the 21 one day, we're out of it the next day, we're back in it the day after. But I think that's great because, somebody can't just come out with a big proposal or a big project, get in and stay there forever. You have to constantly sort of, reevaluate your position with the community, make sure you're investing in better infrastructure, investing in projects within the community, building dApps, doing all kinds of stuff that you can to make sure that the community, goes out of their way to vote for you.
Yeah, because then it's like if you're making all these big promises and don't fulfill them, then votes will be swapped out real quick. I'm sure it's as easy as a click of a button in a lot of these wallets. And it's probably only going to get easier as continued development with different web applications, etc.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's really about all the questions I had. I just wanted to get on here, get a decent little overview, and really see what's going on. Is there anything you wanted to mention about EOS or Cypherglass or anything before we really head out of here?
Yeah, the main thing I would mention about Cypherglass is, people look at a lot of the different block producer names and assume that's where their infrastructure is. So a good example, EOS New York, you assume, oh, their infrastructure must be in New York, but their infrastructure is actually internationally. So if you're looking to vote for block producers that are geographically distributed, which is in the best interest of the network. So if there's an earthquake in Sao Paulo, if all the 21 block producers are there, they would all go down. We're spread across the world. Cypherglass is actually the only US-based block producer. There are other people that, take the name of some of those cities, but we're the only US-based one that actually has infrastructure that has produced blocks in the United States. So it's something to keep in mind if you're in the US trying to vote for people in your backyard. Cypherglass is a great one. And we've done a lot for the community, from our Ledger hardware wallet bounty, our Trezor bounty, to now, having a couple exciting announcements coming out in the next couple weeks about some other projects we're working on.
Yeah, and I'll make sure to put all your links to your website, your Twitter, and all that in the description below. So if you just want to provide that to me, I'll make sure that it's in the description so everybody in this community can check it out. I know a large percentage of our community members are from the United States, so that might help you out as well. And that's it, guys. That's EOS for you. Here is another perspective from Rob Finch, the CEO of Cypherglass, which was one of the 21 block producers right when we started the video, and by now is number 22. Hopefully we can get them to push back up there. And until next time, guys, stay tuned for your daily updates on cryptocurrencies right here at Learn Crypto.
LearnCrypto.io is the pathway to your understanding of cryptocurrencies. At our website, you can learn about the grandfather of technical analysis, Richard D. Wyckoff, purchase our Cryptocurrencies and Wyckoff trading course, and read our daily updated blog. You can also find the link to our YouTube channel, where you will get technical analysis and fundamental research about cryptocurrencies on the daily. If you are too busy with family, retirement, work, or all of the above, then just click on our Crypto PCG link and allow us to manage your cryptocurrency portfolio for you. You give us trading APIs so we can enter orders and manage your portfolio, but cannot withdraw or transfer any of your coins or funds. We manage clients' portfolios for a respectable 3% annual fee, which is billed in 1/4 quarterly installments. Don't hesitate. Contact us today, because with these 24-hour, 7-day-a-week crypto markets, it helps to have a professional as a part of your team.